Wanda went live again, and this time, her words had people in Huntsville talking. It wasn't just another random rant or her usual back-and-forth shade. This time, Wanda decided to speak directly about Melody Sherry's recent legal victory against a blogger. And what made it even more surprising was that for once, Wanda didn't come for Melody in her usual way. Instead, she admitted that Melody was that girl in Huntsville. For those who have followed the history between Wanda and Melody, that sentence alone carried a weight that couldn't go unnoticed. It's not often that Wanda gives credit to Melody, especially after years of throwing shade and jumping into every bit of drama tied to Tisha, Martell, and the rest of the Love and Marriage, Huntsville cast. But this time, it seemed like Wanda's words had a different tone, part acceptance, part resentment, and part realization that the tables in Huntsville are turning. Wanda began her live by paying tribute to Kiki, who recently passed. The live started off emotional and heartfelt, showing a side of Wanda that fans don't always get to see. She had a poster of Kiki behind her, honoring her memory on what would have been her birthday. But as the conversation shifted, the mood of the live changed. The comments section started lighting up with questions about Melody's court win. People were asking Wanda if she had heard about the news that Melody had won her legal battle against a blogger, the same one who had been trying to discredit her name for months. And when Wanda finally addressed it, you could almost sense that she had been waiting for that question to come up. She didn't deny knowing about it. In fact, she said that she had already heard about Melody's win weeks ago, before it became public knowledge. Wanda said she was told about it almost a month before it was officially announced. She claimed, "I swear to God, it was already said to me a whole month ago that she had already won that case." And while some people might roll their eyes at Wanda's dramatic storytelling, her words still carried something important: recognition. She acknowledged that Melody had fought this battle and came out on top. She even explained that it wasn't surprising to her because, according to Wanda, Melody had the upper hand the entire time. Wanda then went on to talk about how the blogger came to court without a lawyer, and in her own colorful way, Wanda made it clear that in Huntsville, going against Melody without representation was a mistake. She said, "You coming to court with no lawyer and expected to win that case against that girl? I'm sorry to tell you, boy. She that girl here in Huntsville." Now, for longtime followers of the show and the Huntsville drama, that line stood out more than anything. Wanda, who has spent years calling Melody everything but her name, who has gone toe-to-toe defending her daughter Tisha in every argument with Mel, actually said that Melody is that girl in Huntsville. For once, Wanda couldn't spin the truth. Melody is winning. Not just in court, but in public perception, in strength, and in peace. It's almost ironic because Wanda's history of comments about Melody has always leaned negative. But this time, it seemed like she was forced to give Melody her flowers, even if she didn't want to. You could tell she was trying to sound neutral, but deep down, there was a mix of jealousy, frustration, and acceptance. The same woman who once mocked Melody's success and questioned her motherhood now found herself acknowledging that Melody has the power and influence in Huntsville. Wanda even slipped up and admitted that she's used to talking negatively about that girl, but in this case, she had nothing bad to say. That slip alone spoke volumes. Now, some people think Wanda's sudden respect for Melody has nothing to do with admiration and everything to do with her current feud with Marcella, her former friend who's also a blogger. Wanda has always had this pattern where her loyalty shifts depending on who she's mad at. If someone supports Tisha or Marceau, Wanda will defend them to the end. But if someone dares to say anything negative about her daughter or son-in-law, they immediately become the enemy. So, her commentary often depends on which way the wind is blowing that week. And right now, she's at odds with Marcella, who has her own opinions and friendships within the Huntsville blogging community. Because of that, Wanda's "I'm not saying nothing bad about Melody" comment feels more like strategy than sincerity. Wanda's words also exposed something deeper about how people in Huntsville view Melody. Even those who don't like her can't deny her power anymore. The woman has gone from being the target of constant gossip to becoming the one everyone watches carefully, because whether they admit it or not, Melody wins. Over and over again. Whether it's court battles, business moves, or simply maintaining her peace while others crumble in public drama, Melody keeps coming out on top. And that's what seems to irritate people like Wanda the most, that even after all the negativity thrown her way, Melody still walks with grace, still wins in silence, and still doesn't acknowledge the noise around her. But Wanda's live didn't stop there. She went on to give her legal opinion about Melody's custody situation with Martel. She mentioned that Melody also won primary physical custody of her children, but Wanda made it clear that, in her view, a custody win only counts if it comes with child support. That comment was a reminder that Wanda's mindset is still rooted in old-school thinking, where financial dependency determines success. But what Wanda doesn't realize is that Melody's independence is the biggest part of her strength. Melody doesn't rely on Martel for financial support. She handles her responsibilities as a mother, businesswoman, and public figure entirely on her own. And that alone gives her more power than any monthly child support check could ever provide. When Wanda said that not getting child support isn't a win, it showed how differently she and Melody see the world. For Wanda, money equals control. But for Melody, freedom equals peace. Melody doesn't want to depend on Martel for anything, not emotionally, not legally, not financially. And in that way, she's protecting her peace and her children. Because when you remove financial dependency, you also remove the other person's ability to control or manipulate your life. So even though Wanda thinks Melody should have fought for child support, the truth is that Melody is smart enough to see that some money just isn't worth the stress. She's built her own empire. She's raising her kids with love and stability. And she's doing it all without Martel's help, which is probably why Martel's bitterness continues to show. Then, Wanda shifted to another topic that had the internet buzzing, her comments about Arion, also known as coleslaw. Wanda didn't hold back when someone brought up Arionne's name in her live. She flat out called Arion a liar and said she's been lying since the beginning. Wanda said that Arion has been dishonest since the show started and that she's always twisting stories to make herself look like the victim. Coming from Wanda, this was shocking because in the past, she's been careful not to talk too much about Arion. Many believe that Tisha and Marceau don't want Wanda to stir that pot too much, since Arion's stories could easily expose things they'd rather keep quiet. So, Wanda calling Arion a liar felt like she was crossing into dangerous territory. But once again, Wanda's motives seem tied to her own shifting alliances. It's not that she suddenly feels loyal to Melody or wants to defend her. It's more likely that she's still angry over Arion's recent social media antics. Remember, Arion posted that infamous hands on your knees post, clearly taking a shot at Marceau. Even though she deleted it, it still caused a stir. That post embarrassed Marceau and Tisha, and Wanda's reaction to Arion's lie seems to come from that place of anger. Because in Wanda's mind, you can talk about anyone but not her family. So, when Arion's shade hit too close to home, Wanda finally turned on her too. That's why she called her a liar and distanced herself from anything to do with her. Now, Wanda didn't go too hard on Arion. She didn't completely drag her or call her out by name over and over. It's possible that Tisha warned her to be careful, not to trigger Arion into doing another interview or spilling more behind-the-scenes information. Because if there's one thing Huntsville doesn't need right now, it's another messy interview from Arion. Every time she talks, it opens old wounds, exposes secrets, and reignites drama that the cast tries so hard to bury. And Marceau and Tisha have enough on their plates without Arion adding fuel to the fire. Wanda's comments about Arion and Melody reveal something important about how she operates. She doesn't really have principles, she has preferences. Her loyalty is conditional. She will always side with whoever she thinks benefits her daughter Tisha and son-in-law Marceau. And she will go against anyone who she believes threatens them. That's why her relationship with Melody has always been unstable. One week she's shading her, the next week she's praising her. One week she's defending Martel, the next she's calling him out. There's no consistency in Wanda's commentary, just emotional reactions based on who's in her good graces at the time. But here's the irony, the more Wanda talks, the more she exposes how much Melody's name still dominates the conversation in Huntsville. Even when she tries not to talk about her, she ends up talking about her. Even when she tries to downplay her wins, she ends up admitting them. Melody's name stays in people's mouths because whether they like her or not, she's the one moving forward while everyone else is stuck in the same cycle of petty feuds and failed alliances. Melody's wins in court, in business, and in peace are reminders that she's no longer part of the drama, even though the drama can't seem to let her go. Wanda's live also showed how much the dynamics in Huntsville have changed. The alliances that once seemed so strong are now shaky at best. People who once teamed up to go against Melody are now turning on each other. Wanda and Marcella's falling out is just one example. Bloggers who used to share the same side of the story are now publicly disagreeing. It's as if Melody's piece has created chaos among those who used to talk about her the most. And while everyone else is busy arguing, she's simply living her life, focused, unbothered, and successful. Even Wanda, in her own way, seems to recognize that. Her live had moments where she almost sounded tired, like she's starting to see that constantly defending Marceau and Tisha while attacking everyone else isn't getting her anywhere. There's always new drama, new arguments, new people to shade, but at the end of the day, Melody's name still carries the most power. When Wanda said, "She that girl here in Huntsville," it was more than just gossip. It was an admission that no matter how much people talk, no matter how many times they try to tear Melody down, she's still standing taller than ever. The court victory against the blogger also represents something bigger than just a legal win. It shows that Melody has learned how to protect her peace on all fronts, legally, emotionally, and socially. She didn't just win a case, she set a boundary. She showed that she's not afraid to use the law to defend her name and reputation. That's a message to everyone in Huntsville who's been using her name for clout, throwing shade, or spreading false stories, that the days of playing with Melody's image are over. She's not the same woman who tolerated the disrespect in silence. She's a woman who understands her worth, and she's not afraid to fight for it in court if she has to. And while Wanda's live may have seemed casual, it actually spoke volumes about the shifting energy around Melody. You could tell that even Wanda, who built her brand on loud opinions and messy commentary, is starting to tread lightly when it comes to talking about Melody now. That's because people are realizing that being on the wrong side of Melody isn't a good look anymore. The same folks who once joined in on the bandwagon of negativity are now starting to change their tone, just like Wanda did in that live. Suddenly, they're not saying anything bad about her. Suddenly, they already knew she was going to win. It's funny how quiet people get when the truth catches up to them. In Huntsville, reputation is everything. And right now, Melody's reputation is untouchable. Her court victories, her success as a mother, and her ability to stay focused while everyone else is spiraling, all of that has shifted the balance. Even the ones who can't stand her have no choice but to acknowledge her strength. Wanda's comments, though messy and inconsistent, are proof that the tides have turned. Melody is no longer being talked about as the underdog or the villain. She's being recognized even by her biggest critics as the woman who keeps winning despite it all. By the end of Wanda's live, you could tell she tried to move on from the topic, but the tone was already set. Her words had already confirmed what everyone else was thinking: Melody is winning, and it's starting to make people uncomfortable. Wanda's laughter and attempts to shift to other topics couldn't hide the fact that she had just spent several minutes acknowledging the very person she's tried to downplay for years. And that's what makes this live so significant, because when Wanda starts to speak differently about Melody, you know things have truly changed in Huntsville. As Wanda signed off from her live, thanking people for joining and talking about her personal plans for the evening, it was clear that her words would linger. People were already reposting clips, dissecting her statements, and analyzing what her sudden change in tone really meant. Was it genuine respect for Melody? Or was it just another temporary shift in loyalty, fueled by personal feuds? Time will tell. But one thing is for sure: even when Wanda tries not to make the story about Melody, somehow it always ends up coming back to her. And maybe that's the real story here. Because in Huntsville, the one name that continues to hold weight, the one name that continues to cause conversations, the one name that keeps people reacting, is Melody Sherry. No matter how much people talk, no matter how many times they try to rewrite history, the truth always finds its way back. And that truth is simple: Melody wins.